There are reports this morning that police may be used as crowd controllers at some of Melbourne's busiest train stations.
Our reporter Kirsten Vaness joins us now from Melbourne's Flinders Street station.
Good morning. Well, I'm here at Flinders Street station at probably one of the worst points for overcrowding. The morning peak has eased a little bit, but this particular intersection at Elizabeth Street is known to be particularly bad over the past couple of weeks, and in fact all of the major city stations are struggling with the transition from the old ticketing system of Metcard to the new one of Myki. And it's actually got so bad that Metro, the train operator here, has had to open its gates through the peak hour periods just to help move those crowds through. And now Metro has confirmed that it's looking at whether it can get police just at this particular spot here to help move the crowds through. And this is quite a narrow intersection, so there's concerns that the crowds could spill out onto the streets, and that's obviously a safety concern. Now, to talk more about this is Daniel Bowen. He's from the Public Transport Users Association. Daniel, good morning. What are the major concerns with the switchover from Metcard to Myki?
Well, there's been a number of problems during the transition, and this latest one, I suppose, is the older types of fare gates. They don't respond very well to the new cards. Eventually they'll all be replaced, but in the meantime you're seeing slow response times, problems with cards reading on the gates, and subsequently, yes, queues to enter or exit the stations. And in this particular case, in evening peak, it gets really quite crowded here, and people do spill onto the road as they're trying to get in. Is it a problem of just people getting used to the new system as well? It's not just the new system, it's also surging passenger numbers, which is something we're seeing on a lot of public transport networks around Australia. As petrol prices rise, as central cities get more busy, a lot more people are switching to public transport, and there are, I guess, growing pains on these networks where you get overcrowded trains, you get queues at stations trying to get in and out. Those sorts of issues are ongoing.
How does this changeover compare to other cities that have recently switched over their transport ticketing systems?
Well, Perth and Brisbane had a relatively smooth transition to their smart card systems. They did have some issues, but because they bought off-the-shelf systems from overseas, they avoided some of these issues. In Melbourne, unfortunately, they've gone for a custom-built solution that they built themselves, and we're seeing ongoing issues with getting that bedded down. Obviously, as Sydney moves to a smart card ticketing system in the next few years, they'll need to be aware of these sorts of issues as well.
So what would you like to see done now to help ease this problem? Are police needed?
Well, certainly in evening peak, when people spill out onto the road as they're queuing up at the gates to get into the station, there do need to be, they do need to look at solutions to this. It may well be that you need police to just marshal the crowds and make sure they're not queuing onto the road as the traffic resumes. And the last thing you'd want is someone hit by a car. And obviously replacing the old gates with the newer, more efficient gates as soon as possible would be a big help as well.
Great, thank you very much for joining us, Daniel Bowen. Daniel Bowen from the Public Transport Users Association, joining me outside peak hour at Flinders Street.